his mouth, but the words won't come out. He's joking how everybody's joking now. The clock's run out, time's up, over, plow, snap back to reality. Up there goes gravity, up there goes gravity. He's so mad, but he won't give up, daddy. He won't back to these notes. He's so mad to these notes.
All right, guys, so we got to talk about this clip that I stumbled across from Vivek Ramaswamy at the Iowa State Fair, you know, the place that a lot of GOP candidates are currently at to try to get some momentum going into the primary season, as I believe Iowa was one of the first states to vote, okay? And there's a clip that's going viral of Vivek Ramaswamy setting a woke activist, pansexual, I believe, reporter straight on the question of same-sex relationships, marriage, and so-called LGBTQ rights, okay? And I think that he gave the perfect response to her question. I think what he said was what most people in this country are feeling in regards to this issue, and he just articulated it probably in the most respectful and concise and best way possible. So without further ado, let's go ahead and roll this clip.
I was just wondering, what were your opinions on the LGBTQ plus community?
Well, I don't think it's one community.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, how could it be? Just mashed together in alphabet soup. Trans is fundamentally in tension with gay, if you ask me. But what's your opinion?
I'm personally pansexual, so I was
Okay.
just wondering what your views on same-sex couples were.
I don't have a negative view of same-sex couples, but I do have a negative view of a tyranny of the minority. So I think that in the name of protecting against a tyranny of the majority, and there are times in this country's history where we have had a tyranny of the majority, we have now, in the name of protecting against tyranny of the majority, created a new tyranny of the minority. And I think that that's wrong. I don't think that somebody who's religious should be forced to officiate a wedding that they disagree with. I don't think somebody who is a woman who's worked really hard for her achievements should be forced to compete against a biological man in a swim competition. I don't think that somebody who's a woman that respects her bodily autonomy and dignity should be forced to change clothes in a locker room with a man. That's not freedom, that's oppression. And so I believe that we live in a country where free adults should be free to dress how they want, behave how they want, and that's fine. But you don't become oppressive by foisting that on others. And that especially includes kids, because kids aren't the same as adults. And so I think adults are free to make whatever choices they want, but do not foist that ideology onto children before children are in a position as adults to make decisions for themselves. And so I think a lot of the frustration in the country, and if I'm being really honest, that I also share, comes from that new culture of oppression where saying those things can actually get somebody punished. And in my case, it's part of why it's my responsibility to say them. And I respect that you may have a different opinion, and that's okay. Part of what makes our country great is that you and I can be civil and have this conversation, and that we live in a country that still gives us, each of us, the right to speak to a presidential candidate and back, and still say that we pledge allegiance to the same nation. So I think that's the beauty of our country, and that's my honest opinion.
Awesome. Well,
Thanks.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that.
Thank you for your civility as well. I appreciate it.
Yeah, so you seen that, you heard that. Now, I'm not sure if it was staged or what. I mean, it probably was some woke activists there. I mean, they show up to these types of events, you know, and press GOP candidates on why they're not bowing down to the mob, right, in the woke agenda. But, you know, Vivek Ramaswamy's answer there is the perfect answer. It really is, because Vivek Ramaswamy has a special ability to deal with tough questions and tough issues in a way that normally would be divisive, right? The media could easily spin it in a way that would divide people, but he actually has a way of articulating an answer that actually can unite people and bring people together. And what he said is what I think most people believe in regards to the LGBTQ rights. It's not really even rights we're talking about here. They have all their rights, but LGBTQ privileges issue that we're dealing with in this country, which is basically that, look, nobody cares about how you want to act, how you want to dress, who you want to sleep with, really, right? If you're an adult, nobody really cares, okay? However, what people do care about is when you try to push that on other people, okay? The tyranny of the minority. When you have a small minority of people that are basically trying to force their lifestyles, force their ideology on the rest of society, when the rest of society, we don't want that. We don't want to be forced to adhere to your worldview, right? We don't want to be forced to use your preferred pronouns. We don't want to be forced to have our kids learn about, sex and gender in school, okay? We don't want to have kids be pushed into getting sex change operations and therapies and hormones. Again, it's really that simple, right? And it's just a shame that in this country, what Vivek just said there is considered far right, right? If you believe that, if you're like, I think trans people should be able to live their lives, be happy. If you want to sit in the comfort of your own home and wear a dress and call yourself a woman, and all your friends call you a woman, and live your life as a woman for the most part without being in a biological woman's space, right? Then hey, do you? Okay, that apparently is a extreme right-wing opinion, right? That's how polarized we are in politics. That's how far left the left has gone. Okay, they're saying that anybody who holds a position that used to be standard common sense maybe 10 years ago, maybe even less than that, you're now a right-wing extremist. And this is even showing up in the polls here, right? Despite what the woke media is going to tell you, most people in this country oppose the woke agenda that these people are pushing, right? A majority of Americans oppose gender-affirming care for minors, trans women participating in sports. Poll. A majority of Americans oppose allowing gender-affirming care for minors and transgender women participating in women's sports, a poll found. A Washington Post KFF poll found that 68% of adults oppose access to puberty-blocking medication for transgender children aged 10 to 14, and 58% oppose access to hormonal treatments for transgender kids 18 to 17. More than 60% said transgender women and girls should not be allowed to compete with other women and girls in youth, high school, college, and professional sports. The results come as Republicans and states across the country have pushed for bills to restrict minors' access to gender-affirming care and ban transgender women from competing on sports teams in line with their gender identity. Yeah, so again, I believe that these polls, right, are not really telling the whole story. Okay, but again, when you got almost 70% of the country that is opposing puberty blockers for kids, right, and almost 60% opposing hormonal treatments for kids, and 60% opposing biological boys competing against biological girls in sports, that tells you that this is a losing issue, right? This is a losing issue for the left. It's a losing issue for the Democrat Party, right? Most people in this country are not with the far left on this issue, okay? But again, when you listen to the woke mainstream liberal media and they do their polls, right, they'll do a poll where they'll ask people, do you agree with gender-affirming care, right? But they won't actually be specific about what is gender-affirming care. Okay, they might get more favorable results, right? And then they want to trick the American people into believing that, oh, well, most people agree with this stuff, when it's just not true, right? If you actually ask people, do you agree with puberty blockers and hormone treatments and surgeries, they're going to say hell no, right? They're going to say hell no. So with that being said, I want to talk about something else real quick with Vivek Ramaswamy. If Trump doesn't make this guy VP, right, Trump is making a huge mistake, okay? He's making a huge mistake. If Trump wins the primary and he does not make Vivek Ramaswamy the VP, I don't know what to say, bro. I mean, that's going to be one of Trump's worst personnel decisions, okay? I mean, because Vivek Ramaswamy, again, he has the ability to even take criticism and to spin it in a way in which he can actually make something positive out of it. And he just has a way with turning back around a narrative that we just don't see in the GOP. I mean, I don't think anybody can do this better than he does this. Like, for example, when he got pressed by Maria Bartiromo on the headlines that, Vivek Ramaswamy would be open to pardoning Hunter Biden, Vivek Ramaswamy gave an answer that I honestly didn't expect. But go ahead and play the clip.
Well, that all sounds very good, Vivek, especially in the face of all of these allegations of corruption and cover-up at the DOJ and the FBI. So it leads me to the next question of, did you just say the other day that you want to pardon Hunter Biden? We have evidence, bank records of potential bribery. Ted Cruz just said, if this is true, Biden should go to jail. Are you talking about pardoning the Biden family?
Maria, that was misquoted and purposeful opposition research with the headline. You know how this game is played. I've actually been very clear. I've been the only presidential candidate who has been this clear that the first thing we need to do is clean house, shut down the FBI, refurbish the DOJ. I'm the only candidate to actually pledge to pardon Trump for all of these political persecutions through prosecutions, even peaceful January 6th protesters on down. I'm also happy to go on record. I heard you talking about it before. I'm on record going in favor of an impeachment inquiry on Biden because I personally believe the Ukraine war is indeed a repayment for a bribe made, now sending $200 billion of taxpayer money in the other direction. But what I've said is let me fast forward to January 21st, 2025, my second day in office, after we've issued those pardons, after we've set into motion shutting down the FBI, not just reforming it, actually restoring the integrity of our government. The question is the next thing that I then want to do after we've set our nation forward, is it to then focus my agenda on persecuting or prosecuting Joe Biden or his family? My answer to that question is no. I'm going to be focused on stimulating the economy, ending the war in Ukraine, declaring independence from China. That is how we win as one nation. And so, no, I'm not going to be guided by vengeance and grievance. I'm going to be guided by integrity. But the first step to getting there is there can be no reconciliation without truth. We have to get to the bottom of including that bribe, I believe, paid to the Biden family, how that's tied to our war in Ukraine and our support of that war in Ukraine. Get to the bottom of that first. And I stand on the side of leading us forward to a national revival, but we can't get there without first being told the truth. That's where I'm at, Maria.
Yeah, so you seen that, you heard that. Okay, Vivek Ramaswamy, like I told you guys, he has the ability to clearly articulate his policy positions in a way that's unambiguous, even in the face of questions that a lot of politicians will just dodge on, right? Because I thought before watching that clip that his initial answer would be, well, you know, I said I was open to it because I don't want to further political polarization, right? I don't want, you know, the world to be more polarized in politics and or whatever, right? I thought that's what he was going to say, but that's not what he said, right? That's not what he said. Okay, apparently he was misquoted. Okay, maybe this was some type of hit job from Republicans, who knows? But all I'm saying is that the guy, he easily kind of deflects away from criticism, and then he basically goes into talking about what he wants to do, right? The things that he stands for. And that's something that you do not see enough from GOP politicians, right? You don't see enough from them, the ability to deflect from criticism, where he could have been stuck on that all day. Right? He could have been stuck on that whole interview trying to defend himself. No. He gave an answer to, you know, clarify what that actually was, and then he went to a bunch of points about policy. Trump, I think, would greatly benefit from somebody like Vivek Ramaswamy being in his court, and the reason why is because Vivek Ramaswamy has the ability to, again, clearly articulate policy positions and to do it in a way that's very not divisive, and I think that can bring people together. And I think that is something that Trump definitely needs, right, on his team. Okay, I think Vivek Ramaswamy being a front man for articulating the America First agenda, I think is a very powerful weapon against the left. And the main reason is because of his ability to, again, focus on the agenda and to articulate policies without getting off track, right? Without, you know, talking too much about his grievances and stuff like that, but more about just focusing on, here's the policy, here's the agenda, here's what we want to do, here's why we want to do it, right? I don't think there's anybody in the GOP that is on that level of being able to talk about policy and what they want to do, okay? In a way that I think, again, is very unifying, okay? So I think Trump definitely needs somebody like that on his team. If I'm Trump's advisor, I'm whispering in his ear, I'm telling you, bro, Ramaswamy's the VP, right? He has to be the VP pick, okay? He has to be the VP pick. I think that that would be the best thing that could happen for a Trump campaign. I think that it would significantly increase his chances of winning, okay? It'd be interesting to see how the left tries to play the race game with Vivek Ramaswamy on the ticket. We know they're still going to do it, right? They're going to say he's an Indian white supremacist, right? But, you know, hey, I mean, it's going to be silly talk, okay? And I think that Vivek Ramaswamy is probably one of the only guys that can actually deal with the left when it comes to the issue of race in a way in which he's not capitulating to the left and going along with some of the silly things that the left puts out there when it comes to the race narrative. Like, I don't think Vivek Ramaswamy needs to pander, right? He ain't out here pandering, okay, in order to try to get, you know, the black vote or whatever, right? He can clearly, you know, speak on issues of race in a way that's unifying, but he doesn't necessarily have to pander, right, to do it. And again, I think that that's a rare skill. We don't see too much of that in politics. Trump definitely needs this guy on his team. If Trump was smart, he would pick him. And like I said, with that ticket, I'm excited, right? That's the most exciting ticket that I can get behind, that I can think of in a long, long, long time, right? Trump Ramaswamy ticket would be amazing. So let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.